I'll remind you again, but on the table out front, this is my, in lieu of a business card, this is a bookmark. It has a picture of a sunset in Jamaica. It has all of my information on it. Please pick up one or more. I was telling Dale, one of the things that I'm asking people to do right now, especially, is network. Christians have a lot of connections. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Jamaica School of Preaching in a moment, but I want to start with the hurricane. This is a major ordeal, and I'm sure that all of you are familiar with what happened October 31st, 2025, Category 5. Hurricane hit Jamaica. It has been described as one of the most powerful hurricanes recorded. Winds in the eye of the hurricane were registered at 254 miles an hour. Sustained winds of 185 miles an hour hit an area, a town called Black River, uh, and the damage there was phenomenal. Surges of water 13 to 15 feet. That is, again, phenomenal. Seawalls that were 5, 6 feet tall were toppled, washed away, cars, boats. The damage to houses inland, 25, 35 miles, was phenomenal. And the damage was just hard to believe. Now, if you're interested, I've got probably 50 to 100 pictures of Black River on my phone. None of them are on the screen. The reason is what I saw when I was there the week after the hurricane is not describable in those pictures. Now, I am on Facebook, and one of the things that I do, um, I network. I use social media for, I hope, God's glory. I use social media to tell people what's going on. I've got videos posted, if you go to my Facebook page, of Jamaica that show a much better uh, picture and overall description. And what I saw, I cannot adequately describe. I wish that I could. I used to live in Middle Tennessee. We had an EF5 tornado hit. We lost 13 souls. The damage was phenomenal there. It was really bad. But what I saw with this hurricane was far worse. Where I live now, I live near Montgomery, Alabama. I used to live just south of Birmingham. We had damage uh, there near Birmingham from a hurricane that hit New Orleans. That thing came all the way up, and we lost 16 trees. I had 7 acres there in Columbiana, Alabama, near Birmingham, and some of those trees were large oaks. And I have a picture on my phone of one of my daughters, and she's standing at the root of that thing where it toppled over, and she's not a third of the height of the roots. Now, again, this is that far inland from New Orleans to Birmingham, Alabama. But the power of these hurricanes is phenomenal. This hurricane was on the heels of a hurricane last year that hit a Category 3. I believe it was Burl. The damage from that hurricane was significant. There were people without power 6 months. Then this one came the end of October, and it destroyed 40% of the agriculture in Jamaica. Now, by agriculture, we're talking about row crops, but we're also talking about poultry. When we talk about poultry, we think of Tyson in the United States, one of the largest producers, but that affects egg production, chicken being one of the main food groups, especially in Jamaica, but really around the world. So 40%, almost half of the um, economy was taken out. And you know, hurricanes and all storms, they don't have anything they pick. They had a number of hospitals were destroyed and or significantly damaged. There are probably 4 to 6 temporary hospitals operating in Jamaica right now. I was really shocked, but about 10 days ago, China actually brought a large floating hospital, a ship, and docked at Jamaica. Several groups have brought in hospitals. And with those, they brought in doctors, they brought in nurses, technician, equipment, because Jamaica's hospital medical care was greatly damaged. Businesses destroyed. One of the larger businesses in Montego Bay posted on Facebook about 3 weeks ago they were not reopening. This was an employer of 45 to 60 people. They'd been in business since the early 1970s. They said that the water had gotten up 7 to 9 feet on the walls of their business. Everything they had was destroyed, all of their inventory, all of their equipment, as well as the building. They could not reopen. Now, something that is hard for us to really comprehend, we live in the United States. If any of you have traveled, especially to third world countries, you know that things here are very different than anywhere in the world. They have insurance on some homes in Jamaica. But I had a homeowner who lost his roof, said, David, he said, in order to go through the process of collecting from our insurance, we've got to replace the roof and pay it out of pocket. And then maybe after months of negotiating, they will pay for part of it. And their insurance is a lot more expensive than ours. And ours is bad enough. But this is what they're looking at. A lot of people lost their businesses. Some were insured, some were not. They will not reopen some of them. Now, on the other side of the coin, you've got places like Sandals Resorts. They're up and down the coast. All of the resorts were knocked offline for a number of weeks. About 2 weeks ago, there were several resorts began to reopen. Others are reopening. They're putting a lot of money because these resorts bring in millions of dollars, probably monthly, not yearly. So they want those back online. The cruise ship stopped in Jamaica a couple of weeks ago, the first one since the hurricane, bringing in several thousand people. All of this is good for the economy. All of this helps. The government is paying out millions. Individuals are hurting. But as I said, things are quite different. If we have a disaster in America, if my house were to burn or a tornado were to damage my house, my insurance company would put me in a hotel for up to 6 months, I think is what's on my policy. And they'd pay it all. They would pay rebuilding. My home is got, what do you call it? They'll rebuild it, basically. In other words, they're not going to depreciate it. They'll rebuild it to replacement insurance, I guess is what it's called. That's not really available there. So these people, number one, there's not hotels to go to. They're camping in their yards. Some of them are staying in their homes with no roof. They're concerned, of course, about someone stealing, just like we are in America. If you leave it, someone else will take it. But I was driving the week after the hurricane, and we're going through parts of Jamaica, and these people are out here. Some of them had propane. They had propane in their house, so they were able to move their tank outside, and they're cooking. Some of them over a wood fire. They have tarps set up, and they're sleeping. They're camping. We're not talking about kids. We're talking about families. We're talking about some of them older people, uh, and it's really something. Roads washed out. We were on some roads that they were down to one lane. You remember the interstate here in East Tennessee last year, the damage from the flooding. Well, they've had places like that. There are a number of we call them hills, they call them mountains. They're not as tall as the mountains here in the Gatlinburg, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge area. But with the rains comes landslides. Now, one thing about this hurricane that was so deadly, this thing sat off the coast of Jamaica for over a week, and it just sat there churning. Well, there was rain going out a minimum of 75 miles every direction from that hurricane, and it was saturating the land. Plus, it was flooding and it was creating landslides on top of the damage from the hurricane itself. So there was so much damage. Preliminary estimates, and this was while I was there, $8 to $9 billion US currency. Billion. Now, that may not seem like a lot of money to some of you, I cannot comprehend $1 billion. It's out of my thinking. I simply cannot process that. This is two-thirds, or not two-thirds, let me back up. This is about 30% of the gross domestic product for Jamaica. A third of their GDP. Income, tourism number one, agriculture probably coming in second, was destroyed. It's going to take years to completely repair. Power trucks and linemen from the U.S. are there. I think it was the island of Barbados sent in garbage trucks. There are various countries worldwide that are helping. While I was there, we got a call from one of the islands, and churches there a week after the hurricane were committed to sending 25,000 US dollars. That's a lot, especially when you consider a lot of the congregations in the Caribbean are very small, nothing like we have here in America. These are just a few pictures, and I felt like I needed to put something up here. These are between where the hurricane came in at Blackwater going up north, or across the island. There were roofs in some places gone. This on the left, this was a building. As you can see, it's just a scrap of iron now. The bad thing is, here you go by a Lowe's or Home Depot or Sunbelt Rental or any number of places. There's all kinds of heavy equipment for clearing this. They don't have that in Jamaica. It's a lot more limited access to heavy equipment to clean this up. This is one of the roads they've put sand in on this side. You see blacktop on the right, and we're coming in at an angle here to that road, and you very carefully cross and get on the blacktop on the other side. There were areas though where there might be a 25 or 30-foot ravine where the road used to be. The road just simply washed out, and it's no longer there. This was in Black River. No, I'm sorry, this is Montego Bay. I don't know what was behind me there. The church building is to the right of where I'm standing. I'm talking with a woman, I would assume she's in her 30s. She had attended the Lord's church a few times, had visited, and she was distraught. And I was talking to her about Christian joy, about peace that passeth all understanding, and encouraging her to get with the local preacher there, a man named Brother Gilbert, and study the Bible. We gave her food. We gave out food as we went about from place to place. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm traveling. I'm here on vacation. My wife doesn't think so. We celebrated 45 years on the 6th, but I don't feel like I can just lay this aside while the need is so great. So while we're here enjoying this area, and we love the mountains. Kathy's from the other end of the state. We love to come here to the mountain areas. But I'm trying to speak. My phone rang just a moment ago, and Kathy answered. It was the director for Jamaica School of Preaching. We're trying to get a trip of some for next week, so he knows when to have them picked up. But these are some of the things that we're working on. I have a 20-foot borrowed trailer in my driveway. In my office, you can barely get through it. I had a preacher, and he's had to stop preaching because of his mental health and physical health. But he had several thousand volumes. A matter of fact, what I would say, an outstanding library. He had debates. He had lecture books from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when a lot of the lectureships way back when, even with schools that have departed now, were good. Um, but I started out with primarily gathering materials to send to Jamaica School of Preaching. But since then, I have broadened the scope. We have 70 congregations in Jamaica. Um, I've found that a lot of places that receive house to house, heart to heart, they get a box at the congregation every week. Some of them just put them in a storeroom in the back. They don't use them. Uh, I've had congregations digging those out, and I carried some down last year. We've been putting those in every food packet we've given out in Jamaica. We write a local phone number on it. but we want to make sure they know that the Lord's church is providing these gifts. I'm collecting things like Spiritual Sword, if you're familiar with them. I've gotten copies of the old Gospel Minutes. It came out of Texas for 30 something years. Gospel Advocates. I've been getting adult workbooks, especially books by men like Wendell Winkler. I've got probably 100 of his books. A few of them are actually written in. That's okay. But Spiritual Sword and Brother Winkler's books, especially, are ideal for our students. Spiritual Sword, you can do a series out of one volume. They deal with one subject per publishing. And as a matter of fact, the congregation in Oklahoma is going to send 25 copies each time this year. They're paying, I think, $105 shipping, and the Spiritual Sword, the brethren that are going to be publishing that are going to send it to Jamaica for us for free. But I'm sending these copies in along with House to House and these other things to use for evangelism there. Now, one of the marvelous things, I mentioned the director called a minute ago. He's on his way this morning to Black River where the hurricane hit. There used to be a congregation of the Lord's Church there, and it had disbanded a number of years ago. The good news is last Sunday, the church, and they're calling it the Central Church of Christ in Black River, met for the first time. They're meeting again today, and they will continue here on, Lord willing. Out of bad things, good things happen. When we were in Black River, we went by the police station and we gave 8 or 9 food packages to some of the police officers. The police station was gone. They were standing outside in front of what used to be the police station. But we wanted them to know that the Church of Christ cared about them. We wanted them to know that we were going to be there. And they had a group in Black River yesterday from a neighboring city knocking on doors where there were doors. Literally in there with a hurricane, they're going from lot to lot, what used to be houses. But they're encouraging, inviting, trying to find out the needs of the people. One of the greatest needs, and it really surprised me when I was there, people said, we need candles. They do have access to solar powered lanterns, these little Chinese things that are very inexpensive. And we saw lights in areas where there was no electricity. They're using those. Um, Apologetics Press is located in Montgomery, Alabama, if you're familiar with AP. They gave me 300 New King James Bibles last Tuesday to carry to Jamaica. We'll be sending some of those this week with a group that's going. We're looking for communion ware, people that'll give communion cups. But one of the things that we're doing is looking for money. Um, we we're working, and I'm working under the oversight of the eldership at Wetumpka, Alabama. The elders there oversee me as a teacher with the school. They agreed to set up a relief fund through the church at Wetumpka. We have a treasurer who is fantastic. He works with money for a number of mission efforts, and he is a great help. But the elders there have been very supportive of what we're doing, and we're sending money. I sent 2 weeks ago. I think it was right at 21,000. We've got more money ready to send. It is a ordeal sometimes. Even a bank to bank transfer is difficult, but we're getting money to Jamaica. I'll be sending $4,000 Wednesday with this group going down. Um, so when someone is going, we try to send Bibles. This group that's going down to help Wednesday, they're going to be carrying some drills for helping do roof work. They'll leave that equipment down there. They're going to carry a generator because where they're going, there is no electricity. They'll leave that generator on site down there for the brethren to use that'll be going in later. One of the things we're looking for is men and women who are willing to go down. Brad Harrod, last week, I had contacted him, and he put a note in one of his articles about Jamaica about we needed help. And I had a 20-year-old college student. She's from Louisville, Kentucky. She emailed me immediately and she said, I want to go. She said, I'm getting out for Christmas break. She said, I went to Honduras this summer and did construction, rebuilding houses. She said, I'd like to go during Christmas break. Maybe I can go again spring break. I had a FaceTime call with her and her mother yesterday, and I was so impressed. 20-year-old wanting to spend her Christmas vacation camping out in Jamaica, eating out of cans, and there will be a congregation that will be providing some of their food and working on putting a roof on a house. Isn't that marvelous? The response has been phenomenal. I had a woman come up to me a couple of weeks ago, said, I want to help with Jamaica. And she put money in my hand. I put it in my pocket. I didn't look at it. I got home, it was $5. That's all she had. I couldn't help but immediately think of the poor widow. Her $5 in God's sight, to me, no doubt, is no different than had she put $5,000 in my hand. But she wanted to help. And in her way, she did what she could. I had an 18-year-old boy south of Montgomery a few weeks ago. I spoke about Jamaica and after services, and there was no one around, and his parents didn't even know it. He came up and said, here, and he put money in my hand again. I didn't look at it. I slipped it in my pocket. I got home, and that night I pulled out the money that he gave me. It was $180. This 18-year-old is working for a little over minimum wage, but he wanted to help. I never cease to be amazed. Just very quickly, and I'm running way behind here what I need to do. My sister reminded me of a story the other day about a missionary had spoken somewhere, and there was someone who wanted to help. This goes back way back, number of years. And they gave the missionary 10 cents, a dime. Now, you know, a lot of Americans today, we drop money and we don't even bother to pick it up. But this missionary took that very seriously, and he contemplated for a while, what can I do? This person wanted to help. This person gave what they were able, at that time 10 cents. So he purchased a tract. I don't know whether it dealt with the New Testament church or the plan of salvation, but he purchased a tract and then he gave it to someone where he was preaching and teaching the gospel. You probably can guess the results. It brought about a baptism from the first person who read it. They passed it on, and that tract circulated. And because someone gave 10 cents, probably sacrificed to do that back then, a number of people obeyed the gospel of Jesus Christ. The point is, there is no amount that's too small to give. We give what we can, we do what we can, and God is the one who gives the increase. We could spend a lot of time. The need for Jamaica is tremendous in helping. I work with the school. Notice there the name. When I was first introduced to the school, I was kind of scratching my head. This is crazy. Why this long name? Jamaica School of Preaching and Biblical Studies International. Jamaica's small. You can almost walk across it. It looks like it's smaller than the state of Tennessee. Well, I was talking with the director, and he's a graduate of Southwest School of Preaching in Texas. Back in the 70s, Roy Deaver was there, Wendell Winkler was there. He was in with a great number of godly men. And he's 73. And he said, David, he said, we're not just a local Jamaican school. And sure enough, I found out we weren't. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about where we're located in a minute. This passage describes, I think, what we're doing and why. 2 Timothy 2 in verse 2, Paul said to Timothy, the things that you have learned of me, don't just put them in your heart. Don't just hold them in your Bible. Don't just put your Bible in your car or on the coffee table. He said, I want you to commit these, teach these, pass these on to whom? Faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Now, I've been preaching 45 years, and one thing that is more and more obvious as I get older, and that is my time on this earth is limited. My family's got both ends. My mother died at 47 of cancer. My dad lived to be 92, 93. So, as far as parents, I've got one that died very young and one that lived to a good age. I don't know how long I'm going to live. but I do recognize that my time is limited. What do we need to do? We need to be training men to preach. We need to be training men to be elders, deacons. We need to be training women to teach. We need to be training women to want to marry elders and preachers. The same commit to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Luke chapter 8 and verse 11, the seed is the word of God. What a beautiful parable. The seed, the word, is sown in human hearts. And Jesus described these various kinds of hearts, and we're looking for good hearts, receptive hearts to the truth. In order for people to receive the truth, it needs to be preached. It needs to be presented in love. It needs to be preached and presented simply. And it needs to be preached and presented by men who are living what they're preaching. These are some of the things that we're trying to do. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6, we're reminded of our limitation. Paul said, I planted, Apollos watered. God gave the increase. Paul was one who enjoyed going in and establishing congregations. Some men are really good at that. Others are good at coming in and following up. Apollos, look at all of Paul's co-workers, Luke, Timothy, Titus. He had so many different ones who came in and did follow-up work. This is what the gospel and God's plan is all about. And we are wanting to train men and women to be able to go in and help with these works. Now, we have a two-fold program. One, we are a 4-year comprehensive Bible school. We are a preacher training school. We have a campus in Kingston. We do have students there, but we have, more importantly, students worldwide. I teach on Zoom. I'd never used Zoom before until I started teaching. If I can do it, anyone can. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a moment. We're preparing men who want to preach the gospel. We're the only 4-year school of preaching in the world. When I first learned that, I asked again the director, the first conversation I had with him on the phone, why are you 4 years? We've got great 2-year schools in America and around the world. Yeah, he said, I know that. He said, I'm not down on that, but he said, we felt like that our students needed more time to mature. Boy, that word is lost in society today. We have a generation, maybe two, that doesn't understand maturity. We need men preaching who are mature in the faith, who are mature in their home and family, who are mature mentally. I appreciated that. He said also, though, we're preparing women to teach women and children. We've got 6 ladies right now in Kingston, Jamaica that go online every week and they're teaching ladies in India. Ladies in Kingston speak English. The ladies in India speak Hindi. They have to use an interpreter. They're not preachers. These are women, just like you ladies. But they have a love for God. They have a love for truth. And they have a love for people right now. And I'll talk about this more in a minute. Right now, we have classes in India. And we have students from Nepal, from Myanmar, from India. That class is about 25 strong. I don't know how many ladies are in addition to that. But we've got 6 ladies who have been through our program who are teaching ladies in India. They're teaching them not only the gospel, but they're teaching them about the church, about Christianity. And I'll say this especially, I am emphasizing the need for elders. We don't have any elders in Jamaica. 70 congregations, not one eldership. I've been with congregations with godly elders, qualified. I've been with congregations without elders, and I've been with unqualified elders. And I don't say that disrespectfully. When I was a boy preacher, first place that I lived in Kentucky, one of the elders told me, he said, I'm not qualified. I didn't know how to react to that back then. I do now. He was forced into the position because nobody else would. godly elders. It's a great plan God has, isn't it? This is one of the things we're trying to teach. Second of all, we're a 3-year international extension program. What does that mean? We're looking for people like you who you might be retired, you may be working, but you want to learn more about the Bible. We're going to make classes available. Tomorrow night, from where I'm staying, I'm going to teach 2 classes. One is a ladies' class. I'll have students from the Caribbean all the way into Canada with those ladies. We're going to be studying the first of 2 lessons on the book of Revelation. I'm not doing what you're doing. I'm doing an overview of New Testament books. That'll be at 6:30 Eastern Time. At 8 o'clock, I'll have a men's class, and we're going to be studying denominational doctrine. And I'll have people again, students from Africa, from the Caribbean, from Canada. These men have jobs. One of my best students in my men's class is preaching near Montreal, but he doesn't have the Bible knowledge he wants. Outstanding young man. None of our classes cost a penny. All of our classes are free of charge to anyone. But this 3-year program, we're trying to equip people to be better Bible students. Jamaica School of Preaching and Biblical Studies International. This is why we're international. These are where we currently have students. There are times we have students in 3 continents, as many as 25 and 30 countries. There are about 14 here. I think there are 14. Jamaica, India, Grenada, St. Lucia, Canada, South America, Haiti, Mexico, Uganda, Nepal, Cuba, Nicaragua, the United States, Miramar, Cuba. Cuba's 90 miles from Jamaica. A lot of the work that has been done in Cuba has been because of Jamaican students from the Jamaica School of Preaching. Did you know there are 200 home churches meeting in Cuba right now? I had no idea until this spring. 200. The Cuban government has acknowledged that the Church of Christ is a peaceable religious group, no threat to the government. Therefore, they will let them meet in homes. They put a cap on the number. They cannot build a building. They cannot buy a building or rent a building, but they can meet in homes. They can evangelize. This is a communist Cuba. Boy, that's a breakthrough. 200 house churches meeting, thanks in part to the work being done by faculty and students from Jamaica School of Preaching. I mentioned here India. India's got the world's largest population now, but they border China. We can teach Indians the gospel, and they're able to teach the Chinese where you and I cannot go to China. What are we trying to do? Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16 that we're to be the light of the world. Not for our benefit, not for people to pat us on the back, but to glorify Him. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our graduates to be servants first and foremost, to be a shining light. You know, the Great Commission, we tend to panic over Matthew 28:18 through 20, Mark 16:15 and 16. Oh, my hands get sweaty when I talk to anybody about the gospel and the thought of going up and knocking on someone's door. You know what Jesus basically is saying there? Jesus says, as you go about your daily business, talk with people about the gospel. How hard is that? I've got 14 grandchildren. You want to see their pictures? I'll be glad to show you. I'm an Alabama football fan, despite what happened last Saturday. I'm still a Bama fan. I'll talk to you about Bama, who's won the most national championships, the most SEC championships. See, I don't get sweaty palms talking about things that I like, my grandchildren, sports. I'll even talk to you about, politics a little bit. Well, what about Jesus? What about heaven? This is what it's all about. We're a shining light. We go to the grocery store. We go into Walgreens or CVS. We go into Dollar General. We have a man in Alabama named John Rice, and I love John to death. John right now is in Africa. He does Bible camps worldwide. He started out in Alabama. They own about 300 acres, and he's been doing camp in Alabama for 30 years. But now he goes worldwide, about 7 different countries. They have up to 2,000 campers in a month's time overseas. John, though, will go into McDonald's, and here's an 18, 19-year-old kid behind the counter, and John smiles at him real big. He places his order, and then he says, "Are you a Christian? What do you know about Jesus?" And it's as natural as it is placing that order for a Big Mac combo. What's he doing? The Great Commission. This is what all of us need to be doing. This is what we are trying to train men and women around the world so that they feel comfortable. When you were in school, when you studied for a test and the teacher hands out the test, you could feel comfortable because you knew the answers, you're ready to do the test. But on the other hand, if you partied and slept through the weekend and you weren't ready Monday morning, boy, you're talking about sweaty palms and panic. Why? You didn't know the material. When you know the Bible, you're ready to talk with others about Jesus. That's what we're trying to do. Our mission, again, we want, and notice there the middle of the first line, we want to train highly qualified men and women. Let's don't send people out that don't know what they're doing. Let's don't send people out that are not committed to God, to Jesus Christ, to being faithful. We want people who are committed, who are willing to give of themselves. We want to train women, mothers, to raise up their daughters to want to marry a preacher, an elder, a deacon. Those of you who have children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews, you want your children to have a good life physically and, education. That's a big thing. But how often do we sit down and talk to them about Christianity, about who they're going to marry? I want to tell you something, people. The greatest job that exists in the world today is serving as an elder in the Lord's church. There is no greater job. There is no greater position. We need boys who are taught as young boys. This is something you grow up and prepare for. You don't decide when you're 45 or 50, hey, I think I'll be an elder. No, this is something we plant the seeds in our children, our grandchildren. And we talk to our daughters and granddaughters and nieces about wanting to marry this kind of person because they're going to be good husband, they're going to be a good father, and they're going to make a difference in the Lord's church and in the world in which we live. This is one of the things that I'm doing, and I'm doing it here just like I do with my students. It's important. One of the second most important, despite people's attitude, is preaching the gospel. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a doctor, but I guarantee you there's no more important work than the work that I do in teaching and preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because, doctors and technicians and nurses and teachers, all of these are important jobs. But let me ask you a question. In 100 years from now, what difference is it going to make what occupation you had? But whether or not you're a faithful child of God is going to make all the difference in the world 100 years from now. So that's why this is so important. We are encouraging, and I will mention this quickly, I'm running out of time. We are encouraging men to get a trade, to go to college. We need tent maker preachers in Jamaica. I don't like the idea, and we do have men, a few who are getting support. Half of the Jamaican men work outside of Jamaica to support their families. The cost of living is horrible. The pay scale is horrible. I'm really pushing this with my students. Find a job, a good job that you can support your family. But your priority is going to be teaching and preaching the gospel. In May, I spent 9 days in Kingston. Kathy went with me the first time she's ever been. She taught ladies. We had the first retreat for Jamaica School of Preaching in 50 years. Kathy had an opportunity to speak with all of the instructors' wives there. She taught a ladies' class in Bull Savannah while we were there. I went back after the hurricane, and I spent about 6 days there. These are just some pictures on the left. I've been on a radio program in Jamaica a couple of times. The man there on the closest is Gladwin Cadeau, 73, is the director of the school. The man behind him is 86 years old. I don't have time to talk about Brother Long. Don't tell me that old people can't do things. Brother Long just turned 83 years old. He just started our 4-year program. You make excuses, you can't learn, you can't memorize, you can't do anymore because of age. He's 83. This man travels 3 hours on a bus or buses on Sunday to travel to a neighboring congregation. He doesn't teach a class, doesn't preach. He goes to encourage because they don't have but a couple of men there. Why does he do that? He loves God. He loves the truth. The middle there, I'm preaching in a place called Bull Savannah. They're going to be helping with the work in Black River. I preached there that Sunday. We had no electricity. We did have water, but we had no electricity. Now, normally, church buildings in Jamaica are not air conditioned. So windows and doors were open as usual, but there were no fans that day. And even in October, right now, it's 80 degrees. These are some of the things that I carried when I went last. We carried eight laptops. We actually got them in. I was beginning to wonder, but we carried a suitcase there with 50 pounds of books, Bibles. We do this every time we go. This group going in next time will be doing it. This is where I stay when I go. I paid $268 to stay 7 nights, 8 days. They call it an Airbnb. It's basically one room in an old apartment building, but it's got a nice bed. It does have air, doesn't have hot water, a little small mini fridge and microwave. I'm able to carry food and be very comfortable, but very inexpensive. Hotels in Kingston are going to cost 120 to 150 a night. Plus, I can walk to the school from where I stay here. I would have to have a taxi back and forth from Kingston. That's Brother Long I mentioned a moment ago. What a great example of Christianity at 83. This is where the school meets. I recently got a call. A congregation in Ohio has closed their doors. They said, David, we're going to send $20,000 to the school. This will help a whole lot in remodeling. This building is 70 something years old and has never had any work really done on it. It needs some renovation. We do have a little small dormitory. Nothing like you're going to find at UT. No, it's very primitive. Our students cook for themselves. They share a kitchen. They share a bathroom. These are some of our students. The assistant director is the man on the far left. We do have a young lady there. She's a freshman in our 4-year program. She actually moved from Haiti, and she's marrying one of our graduates, or just married one of our graduates. She's continuing in the 4-year program, although not there. 12 congregations in 1970 to 70 now. 90% of these were started by graduates. These represent what people are doing. One person, congregations joining together, helping in this tremendous work. What I'm asking for you is to pray for Jamaica School of Preaching. Our instructors, our faculty, our students are working to help with the hurricane damage, but also we want men trained for the next generation. Our faculty, 2 of our instructors are in their mid-70s. I'm 63 and I'm among the younger teachers. We need young men. We had a young man, a graduate of the school that started with us a couple of years ago, and sadly he got liver cancer and died at about the age of 26. He was our youngest teacher, a great hope for the future of the school. But pray for the health of our people, our students. And most of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come. When I called and contacted the church here, Dale didn't know who I was. And it's always, you never know with someone. We did find a connection. But I've been attending Polishing the Pulpit since it started in Jacksonville, Alabama. We've been every year but 1 year, I believe, in the last 25 years. My wife had surgery in July and we were unable to come. But this is a phenomenal work, and there are a lot of good works. But I can assure you that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that what is taught is according to Scripture. That the men that graduate and our women come out as faithful students of the Bible to the very best of our ability. And we do need help. We need help with the school. We need help with the hurricane relief. If any of you would like to go, please see me, and I'll try to see. And we're not on a schedule. We're going to be needing people for the next 6 months. Also, the same thing with money. It's going to be a long haul. But thank you for letting me be here. Again, there are bookmarks out front. Please feel free to pick up one or more. Please network. If you know people in other congregations, other areas, please let them know about the work of Jamaica School of Preaching. They can contact me through Facebook, online. Dale has my information here. The Wetumpka Church of Christ, we've got it on our website there, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you, and God bless.